Hello and welcome back to Drum Key. This is the podcast where we talk about everything drums, drummers, and drum industry. I'm Adam Steck. That's Shawn Groff. And today we have a very, very special guest, a hometown hero, perhaps you could call him. You could call him that. We call him that.
Who is
Mr. Matt Greiner.
Wow, you even said it right. Oh my gosh.
Listen, man.
I must be home.
Yeah,
You're home.
I'm sure you get Greiner. I'm sure you get all sorts of different things around the.
Greiner, Greiner.
Greiner.
Greenies.
Oh, yeah, the R, the French R is kind of a little...
Yeah, it's usually just greener. It is greener too.
I'm Groff. You're Greiner. Steck. You know you're in Lancaster County here. all we need is a Weaver.
So this is a
and a Miller.
Shawn Stoltzfus. I'm Adam Zimmerman.
Yeah.
You know.
I was just watching your podcast before this to
Cool.
to see.
Yeah. Check it out.
So I knew.
Scope it out a little bit.
And I never knew your last name until
That's it.
I watched your podcast and found out. It's always just been Shawn. And Shawn has always been here. Shawn, you've always been here.
It's true.
I feel like I have.
He's part of Drums, Etc.
That's right.
For sure.
Man, I hope some of the interviews are about Shawn because I'd like to know more about.
We need to have Shawn as a guest. He's never the guest. He's always.
I answer questions. I say things.
We get
y'all
his
know
opinions,
about me.
but we never
I
got
wanna
the
know
Shawn
more.
Groff
Okay.
story. All right, maybe that's how we start off next year.
Can I have one question that you asked me? Can I pass?
Pass it? Yep.
I can?
At
Okay.
any time.
Just one.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like any question?
Anything.
Any question?
I can't wait for this. Okay.
Anything.
So what's it like playing on stage with August Burns Red 150 shows a year?
That's an easy one. I have no freaking idea.
I have no idea. So
I know what it's like to watch you live. I've seen you play.
What's it like? I can guess. No, but we don't do the classic podcast thing of having the guests send us a bio or anything. So what I usually do is I get up-to-date information from MySpace. So that's usually where I go. I go to MySpace or Wikipedia, where people can, and I edit it a little bit. But no, Matt Greiner, if you don't know who Matt Greiner is, he's drummer for August Burns Red. He's an educator. He taught some lessons here the other day for some very lucky students.
Absolutely
So you've been
did.
teaching some stuff. That's rad. Got a cool home studio. So do you do the remote lesson thing there too?
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. Zoom thing? Cool. Awesome. He's a podcaster. Holy Ghost Notes is his podcast. If you like podcasts,
That's pretty cool.
You want to come on?
I like that. Yeah,
Dude.
that's awesome.
Okay.
you like podcasts about drumming or drummers in general, there's another one. Go check it out.
Holy Ghost Notes.
Holy Ghost Notes. Super cool. I was checking it out.
It's already not as good as this one.
Well, I mean, we have 3 people. Usually have 2, right? Two.
We have
a guest?
two.
Yeah,
We
okay.
have 2 and then a guest. It's the same
Okay,
format.
same
But
format.
you guys are together in person.
Yes.
My co-host and I are never together.
Okay. It's all.
So it's
virtual.
always, it's always virtual.
Where is he located?
New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah, it would be a little different.
And you guys have headphones with your voice.
Yeah.
This is more professional. And we've been a podcast for 4 years.
You've been doing this way longer than us.
This is our 12th one.
This is literally podcast number 12.
I did it.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Okay.
do it too.
Touched his leg.
But
Don't-
never at the same time.
Never at the same time. Yeah,
Back and
exactly.
forth.
I started to refer to this as the tiny couch because it was
It
the
is
one
small.
that kind of fit here. Sean keeps threatening that we'll get a second one over here, and then we could do 2 guests.
Well, no,
Oh.
Fred was asking to come on, and I'm like, we can't do that, Fred. I mean, we're gonna have to get like 3 other chairs. And
Yeah.
I'm
It's
just
gonna be a
kidding. We're always teasing.
We're always teasing.
You got to be teasing.
Yeah, that's part of. Oh, I forgot. This is part of your intro. Most importantly, he's a Lancaster County farmer.
I am. That is the only thing that's been true about this entire.
That's it. That's the only thing that's actually his claim to fame. No, it's awesome. I love seeing like the back to back of like insane. Like this is me touring like sweet video, like fire, flames, lights. You're playing overseas or whatever, and then the next post is like, so it's been a rainy morning here, and you're on a tractor. I love it.
Griner Farms here.
Griner
We're working
Farm.
with the new Echo leaf blower. It works well. If you got leaves, this is your.
I know.
And
I
you know
love
we
it.
all have leaves, no matter where you live. You
That's
have
it.
leaves, so
Dude.
that's a big shout out to this company, the leaf blower.
It's very relevant.
I know.
Sure is.
That's really we're gonna be talking. Usually I end up talking power.
Were you smoking
tools
some of those
or
leaves before you came in? You're
Okay.
really.
I'm
smiling.
3 hours late to this podcast because
you were blowing leaves.
I've been on tour and I got behind,
It's true.
and I didn't realize how long it takes.
Yeah.
dude.
It takes
always
work,
takes
dude.
longer.
Yeah.
Dude, everything in
Always.
life takes longer. Everything takes longer.
We just
than anything.
appreciate you being here, man. It's totally rad that you can do this, make time for our little podcast here, and come in and rap with us. Because we just wanted to always take like what we do downstairs. When you come into the shop and we're talking about drums and drumming and just the industry in general, take that and put it on a podcast format.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. That's what we wanted to do. It's like those conversations that we have downstairs, let's have it up here. Let's put it on tape and let everyone experience it.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, and every now and then you get something of value. Not usually from us. Usually our guests.
Yeah.
It's something of
Yeah,
value.
usually, yeah. Everyone's heard
But
my
if nothing
one-liners
else-
over and over
Oh,
again.
yeah.
I'm done.
I'm almost out of stories, dude.
I have nothing new
Well,
to say.
okay. Hold on. So, I grew up going to Drums Etc.
Okay. Yep.
And I idolized that store. Still, I'm looking at the logo right now, and it's a significant part of my drumming career. Long before it was my career.
Right.
And for as long as I can remember, almost, I don't know if at the very beginning Shawn was there, but Shawn has almost always been there.
Right.
And I think I really think that that's commendable for you to be with, sticking with a job for as long as you have, and to always just be, you keep it light, you're there in the room to do your job, you are someone that is very easy to talk to, and I think a lot of people connect to the drum world, to the drum industry. And then for you, Adam, to get a call this year that, hey, you're taking on this huge, not only the store in the last couple years, but this huge PA drum show, I believe it's called.
Yeah, yep.
And to have that be successful and you take on all of this is really amazing. I seriously, I'm really honored to be on here and to be talking with you guys. And I think it's just really important for Lancaster County to have a brick and mortar store like this that has people behind it who are doing it for the right reason. Because if you're not going to make it. Right. You're just not going to make it.
Yeah. It's very easy to fake it for a little bit or try to figure something out.
Right.
But yeah, we're so dedicated to it that there's no other option.
Right.
But to succeed and keep taking on more and keep moving forward and keep changing it up.
Right.
So, dude, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Nice. Very nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we like to on our show give some sort of structure to at least this version of the podcast. So I have some things I want to talk about. Want to get your take on them. Want to get Shawn's take on them. I'll throw in my 2 cents. So let's start out with our segment, Crank It Up, Turn It Down. Hey, y'all, Adam here. Shawn, Matt, and I got way off topic here, so we're calling this segment, actually, What Could Have Been. Crank It Up, Turn It Down is a segment where we like to bring up, I usually say controversial. I don't know if that's the best word. Controversial drum habits, things people do. Some people swear by it. Some people hate it. Some people love it. And usually my goal is to just,
anything.
especially seeing as you guys are sitting so close on a tiny couch, is to get you two to disagree on something, and we see what they're so in sync. They're so in sync. They're physically connected.
84 BPM is where we're at. We're locked in.
You're perfectly at 84.
It's the perfect blast beat tempo.
So here are the rules, as Shawn liked to say. This is just setting up the segment.
The rules
but Shawn
exist
said
for a reason.
Adam will go over the rules. I love that. He'll go over the rules.
I always try to say something really funny between the segments, so that way when we come back, we're laughing.
Right.
It didn't work quite that time. I wasn't prepared,
little
but
early.
Yeah, it's a little early. We're getting. I'm just trying to warm you up a little
Get
bit.
warmed up. Stop touching his leg.
I'm
All right.
touching my leg.
I don't mind. Yeah,
Listen.
it's okay. But
So-
stop it.
The segment's called Crank It Up, Turn It Down. If you dig it, you crank it up. If you love it, you crank it to 11. The whole Spinal Tap, crank it to 11. If it's not your style, turn it down. That's
All
fine.
right.
That's fine.
I'm
So,
gonna be cranking it up.
You don't even know what I'm about to
You
say.
have no idea.
I might not.
Yeah,
I might.
you
I
may
might
not.
be turning it down.
You might be.
All right.
You might be cranking it down.
Is it the Zilbell?
Yeah.
Because it's going way.
Oh boy.
Wow. Call out. The Zilbell wasn't
Oh,
quite
my
it.
God.
The Zilbell was so far off for you that you made your own bell.
That's right.
Like you literally have your own signature bell with Zildjian.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah.
You're like, this is so far off. Someone needs to do something about this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. There's all those like months of like R&D, I'm sure, trying prototypes, flipping things
Oh, yeah.
back and
Now,
That was 10 years.
10 years.
I mean, from the point in which it was first made to the point in which it was on the market.
Wow.
Did you play another bell in the meantime, or did you?
That first Zill bell is still ringing. There was no need to.
Sure is. Yeah. But did you play like a different bell? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I played the. So I was friends with a guy named Joe Walmer. And wait, is this actually the question?
No.
Okay, cool.
This is better. I'm just like throwing this out. I'm actually very interested in
did
this.
I actually guess it was the Zill bell?
Imagine.
Okay.
No.
That would have been
ahead.
great.
No, this is better.
He's
Go.
also add mind reader, my
Yes.
you know,
Sean was also
list.
thinking Zilbell.
yeah.
At the exact same time.
Okay, so there was a drummer named Joe Walmer. There is a drummer named Joe Walmer. Do you remember him?
No.
Played.
He's not gonna lie. We tell it as it is. He's not even gonna nod like oh yeah, sure, yeah, maybe you heard that name.
Sorry, Joe, if you're watching this, it's
Sean
not.
has
It's not
no
personal.
idea who you are.
He doesn't know who I am either. It doesn't matter.
Actually, he probably does.
Okay.
Don't worry, we won't cut any of this out.
Most people probably don't know who he is, which is why I bring him up in interviews, because he gets a lot of he should get a lot of the credit, and he unfortunately hasn't. He played for Blind Influence, and Crutch, which are two bands that I grew up listening to. I'd go to his house every Sunday and watch him play. He built a little 6-inch drum riser. Took his drumming really seriously, practiced really hard, had effect cymbals, had a shelf system, so crashes were up top, effect cymbals in the middle, ride and hat down low. First time I ever saw Splash, Mini China, and bells. Played blast beats, really mastered double bass. I could not get enough of this. It was like, this is exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
He spoke the kind of language that I wanted to learn. And I knew I could figure it out, but I had no one to show me, and he was the guy. So he played LP Ice Bells.
Oh, shoot. Okay, yeah.
And I think in addition to that, he might have had the Terry Bozzio Radia Cup.
Sabian.
Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've had both of those. My favorite was the LP Ice Bell.
Yeah.
And
We have one downstairs.
I cracked it. You do?
Yeah. A small one. The little guy.
Sean's still making sales.
That's right.
Available. Click right here. No, but I cracked it, and I got signed to Zildjian, and I was like, man, I want to make a bell that doesn't ring forever. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the best way to say it is the Zildjian Zill bell is the A, and the Zildjian Blast bell is the K.
Nice.
So if you want a dark sounding harmonic overtones out the wazoo, really interesting sound. That's what I was going for with the blast bell.
I wonder if you could put like cymbal tuners on the Zill bell to cut it down.
Dude,
if you
bells
wanted
are so
to,
thick, you can't really mess with them. Like you could put a piece of tape on a cymbal or
and
something.
When you
crazy.
were on tour, you weren't using the Zill bell. Were you using an ice bell or something else? Or did you, okay.
I was using the ice bell and the Terry Bozzio.
Okay.
The Terry Bozzio was the 9-inch. I used it on my left side. The smaller 7-inch was on my right side. Mm-hmm. See, the whole thing for me with drumming is everybody can play drums. That's a drummer now. It's like you look around you. It's like I'm good at drums, but there are guys who are so good at drums.
Absolutely.
And so how do you make yourself stand out in a way? That was a concern of mine when I first started playing. I knew that I would need to distinguish myself from other people because I knew my ability itself wasn't enough. And so creatively, I thought, well, Joe Walmer does an amazing job of writing parts that are musical. And I was listening. How does he do that? There's only so many things you can hit on a 4-piece kit with a crash ride and hats.
Yeah.
But Joe has an extra rack tom. He has all these effect cymbals, and he's taking a paradiddle, and instead of just playing rides and snare, he's creating this arpeggio between a bell, the ride, the snare, the stage left bell, and the splash maybe on the one. And now all of a sudden it's this musical piece that really stands out because the bells and the effect cymbals in particular cut.
Yeah.
They cut through so well.
And taking having a couple bells too makes it like tonally way more musical.
Yeah.
Than playing toms. Like there's a lot of stuff guys will do with like double floor tom kind of stuff.
Yep.
But if they're not tuned in a way that they're different enough, it just sounds kind of muddy.
Right.
So with bells especially, dude, you're cutting like bells and China. You do a lot of stuff with the stack kind of like the China thing in addition to the bell thing. And
Yep.
it's like all of these things are competing, but
Right.
they're in a completely different sonic space
Right.
than if you were just thuddy on toms the
Right.
entire time.
Exactly. I've never been like low tom guy or big. You have your Dave Grohl, your Aaron Gillespie's and your Alon Rubins, who I love all those guys. They're very good at what they do, but that's never been the John Bonham sound has never been
Got it.
in my wheelhouse or something I'm interested in. I'm more interested in the technicalities of drumming that allow a drummer to, I don't know, in a way, play the instrument so that it's not just rhythmic, but it's also musical. Not just rhythmically, but melodically.
Yeah.
It's melodic. And I like that the ceiling feels a little higher when I have effect cymbals and I have a few more toms and I have a few more options, because instead of just playing the part here and here and here, I can also go all these other places with it.
Yeah, man.
Those options are there, to use at your disposal. So absolutely, man, and you do a good job at it, bro.
Thank you.
Very good job.
Takes time, and that's part of the thing I love is the writing process is why I love drumming so much.
Yeah.
It's like you're mixing together all your different paint colors, and you get to take those colors and make it work a certain way on a wall, and it sticks there forever.
Yeah.
People know it's you. Hopefully, that's kind of the thing. Like, are you the kind of drummer that has distinguished yourself so much that if you were up here playing in this room and someone else was downstairs, they could know it was you? Like Travis Barker, absolutely.
Yep.
Aaron Spears, absolutely.
I'd throw you in that.
Yeah, man.
I'd throw
you
you there,
got
man.
a unique style.
Yeah,
for sure.
totally. I would certainly say that's Matt Greiner playing. I could tell.
Wow, well
Yeah.
you've heard me too many times.
I have. Well, you
used to rehearse at the shop all the time.
Rehearse at the store, the band rehearsal room, and then you guys, wore the in-ears too. So all you heard were the drums.
I know.
So
Yeah, we'd hear
Definitely.
the occasional
I've heard
in
you
a
a lot,
break.
bro.
We'd hear a little
Yeah.
vocal,
you have a style.
but we never
Yeah.
heard any guitar.
Yeah.
obviously, or anything
Yeah.
like that. So it's basically just like brrrr, and then that would stop and it'd be like, rah, and then brrrr, and it was back to just Matt. Like all we heard was Matt. Like
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. So if you're watching or listening to this, the reason that you're only hearing drumming and occasional vocals is because everything else is direct. I'm terrible with anything
direct to
outside
in-ears.
of drums.
Yeah.
It's all digital. It's all
right.
digital. So we don't actually have speakers that are amplifying what's being played. There is no amplification
Right.
needed. It's just going straight through and being processed and straight to our in-ears.
Yeah. And there's not ever going to be a bootleg of someone who found out you were practicing at drums, etc., and they recorded it from outside. No, because all you
No.
hear is the drums.
No,
Like,
Matt's been practicing over
yeah,
there.
you're like Matt's chopping
Where's
it out,
everybody
but
else?
I can't tell what you could probably play, and the drums are incredible, but it would be like it's not like they could be like, oh, they're playing that song
Exactly.
Like as far as
Exactly.
like if it was a new release or something.
Yeah,
you, know?
you would have no way of knowing.
I love practicing that way. I have it's a system called the Jam Hub, and everyone plugs into it. It's digital, and everyone plugs into it and wears headphones and plays and practices. You can use
really?
electronic drums or acoustically like you did. Yeah, it's
That's cool.
Yeah, it's totally cool.
So
yeah.
you play with music or with other people?
with other people.
Okay.
Everyone has their own channels. Everyone can use their dial in their own mix. It would be like how you guys are doing it, but to like
a lot less expensive.
a lot less expensive. And
Our rig is
yeah.
is pricey.
All
it's
your
like
stuff,
this little
yeah.
hub, and everyone plugs into it and kind of can create their own mix and
That's
everything.
really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, it's a great way. And you wear the headphones or in ears or something like
How
that.
do they hear your drumming? Are
You
your
could either
drums
use an
playing?
electronic drum set and plug it in that way, or
You just put a mic up.
just put a mic up to it, or if you're using the vocal mics, you can kind of there's a little bleed through going on.
Okay.
So I like playing acoustically and not
Or the
use electronic
Yamaha
drums.
EAD,
Yeah,
whatever
Something like
it's
that.
called, 10. That thing's awesome.
Yeah, the little thing you
The
just plug that
trigger
in. And,
yeah.
Dude, you're talking about playing in a band. Do you remember when you were on that billboard?
I do.
wait,
Do you still have that billboard?
no,
Yes.
but yes.
Please
We're
tell me.
listen. When we moved to this location, we sold it, and a guy bought it, and put it. Where was it? In a
It was at
apartment or something? Was it business?
No, it was a
Something's
Airbnb.
huge. That thing, an Airbnb. Yeah, he put it in an
downtown.
Airbnb to be like Rockstar, right? That
Oh.
thing's like 8 feet tall and 13 feet wide.
Over by Lancaster
Big.
Brewing Company, I think.
Yes. So about a month ago or something, he put it up on Marketplace for like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, like something like crazy. And I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to get that back, but like I'm not gonna pay it. But he just recently put it up, and I'm like, I want it.
Yeah.
So we're hoping it could arrive any day now.
Yeah,
We're like, I'll pay
I
for
reached
you to
out
bring
to
it
him
here.
and I said, "Hey,
Yeah, so we're getting it back.
I said, I'm the guy in
Knock on
the
wood.
I'm the drummer in the picture." He goes, "Oh my God, you need to have this." I was like, "I don't have the space for it." And then I talked to Adam about it. He was like, "Well, let's get it." And I was like, "Okay." I reached out to him. I said, "Can you deliver it?" And he's hooking up with someone to have it delivered. So
Is
we're gonna
it
get
wood?
I don't know. I have to ask Rick.
It's gotta be.
It's like
It's like
pieces.
4 by 8
really?
sheets.
Yeah,
of
4 by 8
wood.
sheets,
Yeah.
just pieces
It's
and
huge,
sections.
dude. It's huge.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. You're
Yeah.
getting it back.
We're gonna get it.
Yeah, and then we'll figure out. Obviously, here we don't really have the space for it, but maybe next version of Drums Etc. or
Yeah.
something like. I'm like, we gotta hang on to this
Well,
piece of history.
that's
just
history.
a quick story about that before we move on, because I
To the
think
segment
but
that I
this is
started
fine. Yeah,
an hour ago.
So I,
Like I said, I'll throw it out the window.
No, I want to
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
you know, at the old store, Rick had that spot there for, you know, a billboard, and the deal was you couldn't like put letters on it. It couldn't say anything. It could be a picture, but it couldn't say anything. So
Okay.
first he had this picture of an old vintage drum set, like a Japanese kit, like from the '60s, and the guys that put it up ruined it. It was really super cool. It was like a no-name set, but it looked really cool, and they ruined it. And then for years, of course, he didn't have anything up there. Then he came across a picture that looked like the one he had done, but it was a copywritten like picture. He couldn't use that. He goes, but he could create his own. So he got me, his daughter, Ricky, and his other drum student to go down and play as they were playing in this band. Now, actually, I wasn't supposed to be the...
So you went to like a photography studio.
Yes,
to
we
take
went to a
that
photography
picture.
studio to take it.
For people who don't know, Drums Etc. used to have, just for context, this giant billboard on the side of the building, and it was Shawn in the middle, just a silhouette of like a band. So it was a drummer in the middle who was Shawn, and then a guitar player and a bass player with mics and stuff. But it was like, it looked so rock and roll. It was great.
Yeah.
Shawn had his hair all spiked up, of course.
Yeah,
and all
that's
that
what I remember about it.
Yeah, and it
Spiked
was
hair
super
Shawn.
cool, but it's just this huge thing. We recently moved, sold it. I'm trying to get it back.
Well,
That's what he's talking about. But they
I
had to
know.
make it.
Yeah. Well, the thing about that too is that, again, that day I didn't know I was going to be involved in this. Rick just said, "Hey, why don't you come down and hold the bass?" It was the girl student that was supposed to be playing the drums, and we had taken a bunch of photos, and then the photographer said, "How about have Shawn jump on the drums?" Now, had I known I was going to be in this photo that day, I would have done my hair better. Actually, I would have had it more worthwhile. Okay, I really would have.
I love your hair.
I'm glad you guys do, but every time I see it, I think of what could have been.
We'll touch it up. We'll get it and we'll touch up. I love how
That's
he's
the line of the podcast.
That's it.
Every time I see it, I think about what could have
I
been.
think about what could have been, because I
What
have
could
great
have
hair
been?
days. I have amazing hair days, and that was like a so-so hair day.
What could
I
have
would have
been?
spent some time on it.
I think about that too with my life, you know,
Exactly.
often.
What could have been?
What could have been?
And it's usually about your hair, right? And here's another little
back.
here's
We're
another
back.
thing. You were back synced in. Here's another thing about that photo for people who care. I don't know if anyone listening cares about this at all,
No
but
one
we're
cares.
really interested in it. This podcast is for us. Let's be
No
honest.
one cares.
No one cares. No one
No,
cares.
they don't. They really don't. No one
comment,
cares.
Comment if you don't care. No, we'll get all the hate.
Yeah.
No, but another thing that you told me about that was the ride cymbal in that silhouette picture,
Yes.
because you didn't take enough stands, is actually sitting on top of a mic stand, just
It is.
like balancing there.
Is it really?
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like balancing there.
It's on a mic stand, so if you take a look at it, like the bass is real high on it. If you really dissect this thing, and like my foot
Which
is
no
off
one
the
has even
hi-hat,
thought about.
because I'm not playing. You know, I'm just posing. So my foot is off the hi-hat.
I remember that about your foot.
Yeah, it's slightly off the hi-hat. But I could be like, you know,
Yeah.
off the hi-hat because I'm playing.
You could be double bass in your hi-hat.
I could be absolutely doing that. Yeah. But yeah, it is crazy.
This is crazy. All right, guys, we're gonna
What
jump
could have
into our
been?
we're gonna jump into our segment. Crank it up, turn it down.
Hold on. That segment now needs to be called "What Could Have Been."
Oh,
You need a
what
new
could have been?
segment.
That's good. What could have
I'll
been?
change it. I'll
Yeah.
change it. All right, guys, we're back. Crank it up, turn it down. We faked you out. That first segment was called "What Could Have Been." What could have been? I'll come up
We
with
need
some lame like title.
We need a new
Like,
graphic.
I don't
We
have
need
the
some-
graphics. I don't have the sound. It's
We
just
need
gonna
some
be-
new music.
It's just gonna be some generic.
We know the graphic.
It's Shawn's. Yeah, the picture of the
It's-
billboard.
Oh!
What could have been? And it's a
Just,
picture of
it's
Shawn's
just
hair.
his hair. It's just,
Which is going to be hilarious because they're going to see that before we talk about it and be like, what is this? What are we watching? So crank it up, turn it down, guys. I'm going to say some things and I'm going to make them respond to me. Here we go. All right. Shawn, Matt,
Yes.
crank it up, turn it down, playing drum parts exactly like the record.
Crank it up for me.
Explain.
My personality is if I get asked to play for church, I go on Planning Center. I learn the song. I go to YouTube. I watch covers. I'm like, that guy's not playing exactly like the record. I'm going to go back to the record. Okay, that's the part. That's the part. Maybe there's a little interpretation and a fill or something, but I'm going to, as closely as possible, play it the way it was written. Same for my own songs. I'm going back and relearning them. I don't want to get out there on stage and have the drummer in the front air drumming along to like effect symbol in the end, and I don't actually play.
I was gonna I imagine because your stuff is so precise and kind of in your genre, like people memorize those parts and listen to it.
Right.
You want to kind of be like exactly like that. It's not like you're just a cover band going out there. Like you are the real deal. People memorize, and you do so much of that melodic cutting stuff.
Right.
That if you don't play it like that, it might sound off.
Yeah, you get the guy
back
that's
yourself
like,
into a corner a little bit.
Matt
It's like,
messed up.
Like I can't imagine. I mean, you see those all those videos of Rush and like YYZ comes on and like everyone in the audience like thousands of people are air drumming his exact. You know what I mean? And you're just like, if he didn't play it like that, they wouldn't know.
That's exactly right. It was written a certain way for a reason. That's
interesting.
That's
Shawn.
Okay,
Here we go.
I am going to crank it down.
Ah.
And I'll give you a couple of reasons. Because number one, I don't think I am that style or that caliber of drummer that plays it exactly. And when I would learn songs, especially if I was playing it for a cover band or whatever else, I would beat myself up on it by not learn. I wouldn't play it perfectly, or I couldn't get it perfectly, and I would be down on myself about it. And then I realized that I don't need to do it exactly like he does it. Right. And I notice a lot of other great drummers out there that when they play someone else's songs, they'll put their own style onto it, and they'll play it like them. Sure. So then just learning that, or at least convincing myself of that, it made me more comfortable playing other cover. I try to play it almost to a T. And actually, for the most part, to a T. But there's certain things that, like, I'll say I'm playing Everlong in my band right now, Foo Fighters, right? Now, Dave Grohl does, like, he hits the hi-hat. He's like, da-da-da-da-da.
Not Dave Grohl. Or no, it is Dave Grohl. Shoot, you're right. Never mind.
I don't like doing that.
I forgot that was
So I don't do that.
Wait, which section is that?
It's
it's like the pre-chorus. It's like the chorus.
It's like the chorus. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, and he plays it on the hi-hats. He's da 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 da.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I play it on the crash. It feels better that way. I don't like doing that. It feels awkward to me. So I'm like, I'm not going to play it like that. And then I watched other people play it, and they played it on the crash too. So I was like, I'm going to do it like that.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a lot of songs like that I like to interpret differently, and I'm allowed to, so that's why I'm going to crank it down, just because I don't think if I was that studio drummer that could play all those things, and maybe if I busted my ass a little bit more, I could be that guy.
Sure.
Well,
but I'm just not that guy.
No.
So I'm okay with it.
Yep.
And I'm going to crank it down. I like to just play it like pretty darn close, if not exact, but if I feel like changing it up a little bit, I'm going to change it up.
I think
Very fair.
I think it's very situational. I'm turning it down. I'm not cranking it down. I'm not cranking it up. I'm turning it down. I just because of my experience of the kind of thing that I do a lot of like country and like folk rock kind of stuff. And there's a lot of times where like you can tell those recordings, like the guy never played it twice. You hear bootlegs of it and it's like completely different. It's just like all about the feel in the moment and that kind of thing. So because I'm not playing genre that is like, I'm not in a prog band or say like a metal situation or something where it's very analytical and very like it's very mathy and kind of everything gels exactly right. It's more feel, chill, loose acoustic singer-songwriter stuff. I'm switching it up all the time. I mean, the gist has to be there, of course, and if there's anything iconic, if it is an iconic drum part, I'm gonna figure out exactly what that is.
Right.
You know, but you know, if there's a Purdy shuffle in there, I'm not gonna just play a rock beat. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna put the time in. But again, a lot of that stuff is up to interpretation. You were talking the church thing you mentioned. When I play in church, I play every week in church. That's something where in that genre space, especially in like the contemporary worship scene, it's a lot of thuddy Tommy stuff, and I'm just not about it.
Right.
So I'll interject a groove in there,
Yep.
a hi-hat groove or something where it feels better, and guess what? It actually helps the band stay in time and be more on time. And
some of that stuff translates better on album
for
than
sure
live.
Yeah, and then also we typically have like a 4-piece band. Like it's not
Right.
like we have like all of the backing track
Right.
and this and the like. I don't have a percussionist also playing stuff, so I'm kind of taking it in, trying to get close enough to the picture so that people that listen to this regularly will recognize it and will feel comfortable with it, but also serve the band that I'm working with the best.
Right.
Which sometimes it's just keeping hi-hat going, not dropping out. Like, let's stay in time here, singer. Whatever the gig kind of calls for. So I'm turning it down. All right.
It's a good point. All good points.
All good points.
Yeah.
All good points.
I think so.
All right. Crank it up, turn it down. Listen very carefully.
I am listening.
Learning songs at band practice.
Oh.
Are we talking original writing or learning?
I didn't say
covers?
writing. I said learning songs. Learning songs at practice.
All right, I'll go
Is that
first.
what practice is for?
I'll go first. It depends. All right. So I'll start with August Burns Red because that's been 20 years of my experience with drumming.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you waited until practice to figure something out, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Reason being, practice for us at this point is really just playing the songs in the same room that we already know how to play our respective parts for.
Right.
We are not a jam band. And there are moments when I do miss that aspect of music, where you get together in a room and I'm interested to see what you have to say about this, Shawn, where you're playing music with people and maybe the stakes aren't as high. And so, yeah, you have a show coming up this weekend, but you don't have a Logic session built with clicks starting from the first song all the way through the 15th with the MIDI running your light show and your cryo and a lot more on the line, right?
Absolutely.
There's that pressure that plays into your practice. And I always say as a teacher, you want to build pressure points into your life. It doesn't even have to be with drumming. It can be with anything. If you want to get good at something, build pressure points in where I have a show coming up this weekend. I have a session coming up in a month. I have a drum lesson with Rick next week. And you're left with this decision where it's like, I'm either going to practice or I'm going to show up and look like an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I had never started the band and still continued to play drums, I know I would not be anywhere near where I am because I've had so many events like that in my life where it's like I have to practice. The pressure's on. I have to practice. I have to practice. And so for me, that's just part of getting really good at your instrument or really good at anything is not waiting until the moment when you have to deliver to a certain extent.
Yeah,
You're at
yeah.
practice. Yeah, you're still working stuff out, but you can't start your work there.
Yeah.
It should have preceded that.
Yeah.
So you're turning it down.
I'm turning it way down.
Yeah.
It's off.
It's
for
off.
me.
I agree with Matt. I'm turning it down too.
I love it. It's off. He unplugged it. Shawn, go ahead.
Set it on fire.
I'm agreeing with Matt. I'm turning it down. I don't like to learn a song at band practice. I love getting a set list and learning them at home and coming in. And now we're here in the same room practicing. I get to practice on my own. Now that's for cover band stuff.
Okay.
Now
Sure.
I do play in an original band, and when you're writing songs, you have to kind of be
of
in the
course.
same area and doing all that kinds of stuff. So it's kind of harder to practice some of those.
You
on my
guys
own.
write stuff in person?
My
The
original band, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
See, we don't do that. I should have probably said that. It's all written
Well,
on
wait
a
a second.
computer and shared and
So like someone has an idea, they record their part, send it to someone else.
Okay.
yeah, like the whole song.
The whole thing.
The
right.
entire song.
I'll say this. The band that I play with right now, we've only been playing for maybe the past year. But the guitar player in that band, him and I have been in a band together in one way or another since 2007. So I played in a punk rock band with him for a long time called Man vs. Mars. And he is a songwriter. So he actually does the writing. So he'll come here's the song, and then he shows it to me, and then I'll put something to it, and then we'll make some fine-tuning arrangements there, and that's how we write a song.
Right.
So it's him. It is kind of him bringing it. Hey, here's my idea for the song, and I'll say, all right, maybe I'll play this beat to it, or maybe we should do this during the bridge or something else like that. And they're all pretty simple songs. There's nothing like too complicated going on, but that's how we write songs. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But we'll jam them
makes
out,
sense.
Sure.
and play them and practice them in,
That makes
in the room
sense in
together.
that context.
And a lot of times he would burn a CD for me of all the stuff, and he would have like a just a drum machine going in the background, and that helped me too, because then I could just pop it into my CD player driving around, and I would learn the songs that way, even though it's just a straight beat through
learn
it.
the form and
I know
everything,
when
structure.
I know the structure of the
absolutely.
song, so that's how I would learn the original stuff. But for the most part, right now it's just us in a room, and we're trying to get our bass player kind of up to speed a little bit with like learning the stuff, because him and I could bust throughout those, like we know probably 30 songs, like you know, from all those years of playing together. We could just play them just like that, you know. I mean,
that's
you
awesome.
know tons more, but like just those years, like we have all
in
these
addition
songs
to
we could
everything
just
else going on.
play,
Sure.
you know, at any given time.
I'm with you guys. I'm turning down the learning at practice.
Yeah, I don't like that.
The but now that we kind of delved into this a little bit for the recording songs and stuff, I've been recording some stuff, and I prefer to learn and write the stuff together.
Oh wow.
And that's half because my first experience with that was people sending me stuff that literally wasn't even recorded to a click, let alone anything else. So it was frustrating. I'm like, can we just get together? You know. So there's that.
Yeah.
But now that we've established a click and different things, where sometimes there'll be a little drum, but most of the time it's just a click and singer-songwriter type thing, and then put your stuff in. It's really interesting because with again, I think the genre thing has a lot to do with it too. Just thinking like putting a placeholder in something where there's some songs, especially in like the folk country aspect side of things, where it's like, hey, I might not play until the second chorus, or something where it's like, it's more about communicating, like, what vision do you have for this song? Do you want this to be stripped back? How much do you want in? Do you want, shaker here, or that kind of thing? It's tough. It's tougher to do that type of thing. Sending things back and forth, and it's frustrating to me. And the time that it takes. I have a setup to record and everything, but the time that it takes to get this file, we're all using different file formats. It's really about the details. Those little details can screw you up.
I know.
Because at the moment, or the last time I did it, it was like, this guy sent me this file format, and then I added my thing onto it. I had to convert this.
Might as well get into the same
that.
room and show each other right then and there.
I packaged that. I sent it off to him, and he's like, "Oh, could you send me this without that track?" And I'm like, "Well, I just sent you the MP3 for the idea." It's just like, it can get frustrating, but you guys have a system down.
We do.
So that's
we
great
do, and
thing
it
to
works
have.
well for us.
Nice.
See, the thing is, if you're in a band and you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, what should we do? What's the right thing? It depends on what works the best for your group, your crew, your friends, your band members. And in my case, it used to be we would get together in a room and we'd write stuff for the most part. And then we have been a band for so long now that we have families, and we have had this full-time job for so long where we have built rhythms, if you will, that just work for us. Yeah. So what is it that works for us? Not getting together in a room and jamming. We are not a jam band. Okay, we know that, so how are we going to write? So you have to identify what is the most streamlined, efficient way to do something, and just do it. Doesn't matter if it's what everyone else is doing or not.
Yep.
It really doesn't. It works for us, and it's kind of quirky. We use this, like, quirky might not be the right word. We use this really outdated software called Tabit.
Okay.
There's much better,
but that works for you.
Much better stuff out there with MIDI.
It's efficient,
but it's.
though, yeah.
I see 53 and I know it's ride bell.
Yeah.
I see 51, I know it's ride. I see 35, I know it's kick. And it's like people look at it and go, "What in the world is that?" It's like, well, that's just what we've used for 20 years.
Great. All right, I have 2 speed round ones. Speed rounds, quick explanations of why you either crank it up or turn it down. Right. Crank it up, turn it down. Drum videos. You know what I'm talking about.
I'll crank it up.
Drum videos.
Yeah.
I picture a VHS tape when I picture a drum video, by the way. I don't picture YouTube drum video. I picture like, hey guys, it's me, a drummer that probably shouldn't be doing this, trying to be funny. Let's talk about the hi-hat. You know what I mean? That's what I picture in my mind.
Oh, you're not picturing
I'm
like...
I'm picturing like instructional, like,
yeah.
hey guys, it's it's me from, the whatever band, like we used to play at the shop.
Yeah,
and you'd be
no, I
coming
love
in.
'em.
There'd be like hokey drum videos up. You love it? Sean's like,
Yeah,
I love
'em.
the gimmick.
I love it. I love drum videos.
See,
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about. Hi, my name is Tony Royster Jr. and I'm 13 years old, and I'd like to dedicate this drum solo to the late great Tony Williams. And he gets up there and just starts shredding. You're not talking about that.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I was thinking more like, and here's how I do it. Boom, tap, boom, boom, tap. And that's basically it. And then like a stupid graphic comes up that's just like the kick drum. And then he's just like, here's my bass drum. Doom, doom, doom. Sounds good.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about? Like those kind of videos.
No,
are
I'm not
hilarious.
talking about that.
He's not talking about that.
No,
You're talking
I-
about Mike Portnoy.
Yeah, like on my port.
That's
note.
what
Oh,
yeah,
all
totally.
day.
Yeah, definitely.
All day.
That's
I'm
awesome.
Crank
Yeah.
it as
Yeah,
loud as I
that's
can.
what I'm
say.
cranking
I
up.
bought all the Mike Portnoy
Yeah.
posters from
Yeah.
Drums, etc.
Dude,
Wow.
I bought them all. I have them all.
I bought
in
them
my
all.
house.
I bought them all.
I bought them all.
So
I remember that.
He's
so
back
the
in
the
Dream
drum
Theater.
Yeah,
video,
he's back to where he belongs in Dream Theater.
exactly.
That's kind of cool.
The drum video thing goes from, and nowadays there's the whole like YouTube, but like in my mind it's something instructional that a drummer specifically
really-
puts
That's
together.
what I'm
cheesy.
cranking up. I'm cranking that up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sounds great.
drum videos nowadays for your regular YouTube drummer are a dime a dozen. So
Yeah.
that's fine to do that, but
I'm kind of turning those down.
yeah,
a little
I'll
bit.
turn those down.
Yeah.
But I'm cranking up the DVDs.
I'm turning. Yeah, I'm cranking up the DVDs.
Like the modern drummer ones,
Yep.
you know, your old Speed Power Control, Jim Chapin
Yep.
VHS that I have, that taught me a lot.
How do you feel about the nerdy Neil Peart ones where he says, and then I insert the ostinato, and here's another version of orbital drumming, and he's like in a rowboat.
Dude,
and you're like,
they're great.
I've never.
You've never
yeah,
seen
I've
those?
never seen them.
Dude, the Neil
I've
Peart
seen
ones
it.
are great. He's
Yeah,
like out in
they're
the
awesome.
woods somewhere.
And
Yeah,
I'm not a
Are you
Rush fan,
serious?
yeah.
but it's pretty cool.
It's great. It can be very, very dry because of how he is. But,
He's Canadian.
Yeah,
If you didn't know.
he's Canadian. Yeah.
Do you have any Canadian viewers?
Yeah,
Probably.
we do.
You did.
We did.
You do.
We did. We did. Well, we had a live stream the other day, and we had giveaways. We were giving away these Zildjian like multi tools, and we were talking about the PA drum show we had hosted and everything else like that. And we're like, hey, anyone out there, if you comment,
We'll give you something. We'll send you one.
We'll send you something. Of course, someone commented from Canada, and we're like, it
Well, we didn't think
costs
about
us
that.
$15.
$15.
It costs us $15 to ship this thing
I'll
out.
put my hand around you now.
Yeah, we're like, oh boy. But no, it's all good.
I know.
It's funny.
Sean, you're not getting your bonuses
That's
here.
all right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of posters, you took all the Mike Portnoy posters.
Yeah.
You also, and speaking of Rush, you also bought a Neil Peart poster,
Yes, I did.
which somehow made it over here to the new shop and was literally hanging on the wall.
Yep.
And you came to collect,
I
but
had to
you
come get
came
it.
out. Sean, can you grab it?
Yes.
But he came to collect his poster, but gave us a gem
Yes, I did.
to trade back because he
Yes,
felt
I
bad
did.
taking something off the wall. And
That-
this is just
clearly,
beautiful.
I gave you the more important.
This
of
is
the two
absolutely
items.
August Burns Red. their emo phase where they all have the same hair,
Emo's not dead.
and just it's a beautiful thing. And that hangs in our bathroom.
Gosh.
So if you come into Drums Etc.,
that, you can be.
you're sitting there, and you can just look up and see Matt staring down at you with his jacket. And
You cleaned us out of Mike Portnoy posters and Neil Peart posters and tapestries and everything else, but you gave us something that is priceless, and we have
Priceless.
it. And
I'm not even upset it's in the bathroom.
No.
I'm honored.
we've taken a lot of peas together, Matt.
he just stares into your eyes. It's a good spot. It's a good spot to have it.
Do you ever change it up? Maybe look
Never.
at Jake or JB?
Oh yeah, I
or-
look at all a lot of you.
I look at a lot of you.
No, I look at the lot of you.
Jeez. All right, we're doing one more because I love Crank It Up, Turn It Down. And
Yeah, I
this
do
is
too.
this is the season finale,
This
if
is
it were.
it.
This is episode 12. We do one a month.
Crank it up,
This is- here we go.
2023.
Crank It Up, Turn It Down. The last one for the season. Here we go. Crank It Up, Turn It Down. Thank you. Drumming under lights.
Oh, actually, we'll do this at the same time.
Here we go. 3.
One.
Shawn and I are not on the same page. I'm not on the couch. I'll shut up.
You're not. You
gotta- you said three.
You gotta.
Right.
So
You
what
count
are we
us in.
saying?
We were in time. We were in
We were in
but
time.
just-
We were just on the wrong number. We would have gotten there eventually. It's like, okay, on the count of 3, go on 2. 1, 2. No. All right. So crank it up, turn it down.
Yeah.
Drumming under lights. Is that what you
Drumming
said?
under lights. Yep.
Okay.
Is that all the context we get?
That's it.
Okay, I got this. Yep.
You gonna count us in?
3, 2, 1.
Crank
Turn it
up.
down. One of us is in a band that plays under the lights.
I don't get to play under the lights enough.
So much.
So when it happens, I love it.
Oh man, you really got to be back under the lights.
Dude,
I'm
you
back.
deserve it. That
I'm
hair
back
needs to be
with
under
the
the
hair.
lights.
Yeah. Well, there was a light on that sign. Do you remember that?
Yeah, man.
That light that hung over the building.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I would like to have the light, not the
You guys
tapestry.
need
I don't
the
care
light.
about that.
Shawn wants the light back.
I want the light.
We're gonna get that poster to a new shop
Well-
someday to put it up, and I'm just gonna leave that section out. It's just gonna be the girls, and Shawn's not gonna be in the poster.
Well, I'm gonna.
Explain.
I'll add this because when you, you're on tour, you have a professional rig, and you're playing these big places. When you're doing like little hole in the wall places like I play, if you're just doing a hole in the wall place and you don't have lights, you look like crap.
Yeah, you do.
It's like if you put up 2 light trees, it makes such a better impression immediately.
Yeah, it does.
You look better.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm cranking it up because, even a singer-songwriter playing in a local bar, pub, whatever, coffee shop, you have some lights on you, man, you look so much more professional. So that's why I'm cranking it up.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a great point, and you're right. Actually,
You're just tired of it.
Actually, okay. Here's a little deep dive. I used to have a speech impediment, and that might seem unrelated to this, but as a kid in your teenage years, when you have something like that, it's social suicide.
Yeah.
And I would try to hide it from everybody, and I was pretty bashful. Actually, I was pretty timid. I didn't like the spotlight. So when I started playing drums, this thing happened to me where it was like, man, you're really good at drums. You're really good at drums. You're good at drums. You're really good at drums. And where I was a person with no confidence, I started to have confidence. But the part of me that didn't like the spotlight actually didn't have everything to do with my stutter. I don't like, that's my personality.
Yeah.
Which I like playing drums because I get to be behind stuff and not the front man holding a microphone on the front of the stage. So lights, absolutely necessary. Impressive looking, needs to happen. A part of every show. Be really bad if it wasn't. Drumming under lights versus in my practice space, like in my barn, man, I love playing when there's just nothing on the line.
Mm-hmm.
When it's just me playing my drums and no one's
No
watching.
stakes.
Because
as soon as you're
that
under
was-
lights, you know there's stakes.
Yep.
It's like the first time we did this, I remember talking to Shawn and we like trying to get him used to the fact like I would hit record super early.
Yep.
Because if you're looking and you see that red light blinking,
Yep.
all of
Right.
a sudden it changes.
I was nervous.
Your psyche,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Now
I watched your first video to
Yeah.
see because I was just like, it can be tough.
Yeah, sure. I didn't know what to
Yeah.
expect, and like, what if I say the wrong
thought you
thing?
did
What if
great.
I stutter?
Yeah, now
Like,
clearly
what
he
if I
doesn't-
say a word wrong?
Yeah.
And actually,
Now he doesn't care.
no, I don't care.
Yeah.
I realize who cares. Good. Like it's great. I hope I say a word wrong or
Yeah.
I stutter or something
Yeah.
because it's gonna be funny. I've
Exactly.
said some funny crap on here
Yeah.
that like I screwed up or messed up, and it's
And we
better
leave
that
it
way.
in.
And we leave it in.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had
Exactly.
Evan on, and I screwed up a line. I said something I couldn't say. Podcast guest. I couldn't say it. I kept
Podcast, yes.
yeah, podcast guest. I couldn't say it. I was like, I screwed it up once, and I caught myself. I was like, podcast guest. Podcast guest. And I said it again. I screwed it up again, and I said it again. I screwed it up again. I said, all right, I can't talk. Let's do this again. Like
Yeah.
and I thought, no, let's keep it in. It's funny.
It is. Yeah, I mean that's what people want.
Yeah.
People want the real deal.
They do.
And when they're coming to an August Burns Red show or they're coming to any show, they pay money to be there. You want to give them a good show. And obviously lights are an important part of that. But just personally, on a personal level, there's something about me doing what I do for fun too.
Yeah.
And it's not just about it being something I have to do because
Yeah.
as is so typically the case, something you love turns into something you get paid to do, and now because you have to do it, you don't love it anymore.
You don't want it to be a chore.
Yeah,
you don't want it to
Do you
be a
mean
chore.
like you don't want it to be like, oh, the spotlight is just on you? It's more like the band and just you expressing yourself with these guys and people getting something out of that music than just like you don't want the spotlight just being on you. You don't like that.
Yeah, that, but also just on stage playing with the band. It's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, I bet.
I tell my wife, like, if I am about to do something that's not easy, mentally I think to myself, and try this next time it's so funny too. It's for silly stuff. I'll be playing cornhole and I'm about to throw the bag. It's an important throw, trying to win the game, and I'll literally think to myself, what's the hardest thing you've ever done? Play drums on stage with AVR. There's nothing as hard as that. This is definitely not as hard as that. And I do it, and it drops the stakes. It gives you this perspective. So knowing that it's that level, when I get to move my drums into the barn and just play, oh my gosh, man, it is so refreshing to me.
Yeah, yeah.
The
That's funny that
pressure's
you say
off.
that because I remember when I was a kid, seeing and hearing about the Miracle on Ice movie about the team that beat Russia and that, right?
Yeah.
And boy, if you want to get fired up about America, you watch that, right?
Yeah.
But I remember being a kid and being like, if I tell myself I'm doing this for America, which is hilarious now because of how controversial people feel about our country for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the reasons, but it's just like I remember like I would use that as a kid to psych myself up.
Nice.
Like as a little kid,
Yeah.
I was like, this is like as if I was some Olympian or something. So I'm with you, dude. I'm just going. You're going to a vulnerable place. I'm with you. I'm right there with you. One more thing before we move on. We talked about drumming under lights and like the physical lights and stuff. I remember shortly after getting my first drum set, finding in my brother's room a strobe light.
Oh,
Have you
strobe
ever
lights, dude.
drummed using a strobe light? It's
that I don't
insane.
like.
Dude,
Really?
That it's been a long time, but I remember just starting out in my band in high school, like,
that'll
and it
throw
wasn't
you
good.
off. Dude, you can't look
I was
at
gonna say
yourself.
it effed me up, but it did, man. I was like, we gotta turn this thing off, dude. It's messing
See,
me up.
I loved strobe lights because it was just like it made you look even crazier than what you were.
I guess I gotta give it another
You
shot.
can't look at your hands when you're doing that.
Yeah.
I found myself. We played one show where I did that, just like a backyard party or whatever, and I literally just closed my eyes.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is easier.
Yeah.
But like, if I hear my snare and I see my stick up here, it just won't. I can't. My brain can't keep up with it.
It's like when Matt saw this, he's like, "Wait a second, you're over here watching us on the
It's all
screen.
backwards,
Everything's backwards. But this is my right hand, my left
What
hand.
do I
What's
do
going
with
on
my
here?"
hand?
What do I do with my hands? I'm just sitting here like this. All right, let's jump into our next segment: drum industry news.
Live to tape, baby.
I like this groove. That's nice.
Drum industry
playing drums.
news.
It's him, yeah.
Yeah, I made up a little thing, and it's me playing bass, and I don't play bass.
Is it really?
Just coming up. I know it's
Wow.
it's impressive.
You guys are
very
impressive.
We have no funds for the show,
Promoters.
so
Yeah.
we do everything. So, drum industry news, Matt. Just so you know, in this segment, we shed lights on parts of the drum industry that folks don't know a lot about, or we want to dig into more, talk about. It's really nerding about like industry type stuff. So sometimes it's product releases, sometimes it's like things like the drum show or different things like that. Today, I want to talk about drum clinics. I want to talk about drum clinics that we've attended, that we've seen, what you find most valuable out of the drum clinic, and then you've given drum clinics, add drums, etc. In fact, so I want to talk about that a little bit.
Oh my gosh, that was fun.
We just had a drum clinic because of our new location. We don't have like the space here to do it too much, but I'm looking for unique ways. And one of the ways that we can do it is the drum show. So kind of the grand finale of the drum show this year was a drum clinic, and we got Pat Petrillo to come in and do it.
Was that awesome?
It was super cool. Wow, dude, it was nutty too. And I know that like the capacity for like the little mezzanine area we had it in was probably like 50 people. And when there were like 200 people up there, we were like, dude. And I want to thank you because Matt was on speed dial to come in and save the day to be a clinician. So at some point we're going to connect and do something again.
Yeah, I was
But
on tour.
You were on tour and
didn't work.
you were like, I'm willing to fly up one night, like
Crazy.
fly up,
I have a
do
day
the
off.
clinic. You had literally one day and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm willing to spend it on planes the entire time to come do this for you guys, and that is super generous of you, man. Like I was talking to Shawn, and I was like, I don't want to make him do that, let alone like coordinate all this stuff, but like we'll connect again.
But it would have made for a great story.
Oh, I know.
Let's pretend he did do it.
But here
man,
we are.
that was crazy, wasn't it?
What a clinic!
I can't believe you did that. You flew out and you almost missed your flight. I was there to pick you up.
Yeah.
I sped the entire way from Philly to here.
Yeah.
You made it
Yeah.
just in time.
Yeah.
You freaking banged out a masterclass drum clinic. Standing ovation, and then I had to take you to the airport immediately right away. We got stuck in traffic.
He forgot his stick bag on the way to the gig. We had to turn around. You forgot like that.
I feel like you've lied before. 'Cause that was really good.
Very good. But no, let's talk
I'll do it
about
again.
drum clinics. Because
I mean, not again. Now I feel like I believe
do it
you.
again. Oh, no, do it again.
What? Yeah, I was so convinced he thinks that he actually did it.
He thinks he actually did it.
I'll
do it again. I'll do it again.
Okay,
No.
this is bad.
So here's this podcast is going to just be us laughing for at least half of it, and I'm not editing any of it out, so people are just gonna listen to us laugh. But drum clinics. Here's what people know about drum clinics. We don't need to talk about this stuff. People view drum clinics. They know they have to pay for a ticket. They go typically to a drum shop or a venue to see something. I'm just going to keep talking through it. They go to an event. They see someone. And is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Sometimes there's giveaways. Usually there's a part where the drummer has to hit a little bit, play a couple songs, show off. There's usually a talking segment. But like that's all people have. There's so much behind the scenes, what Shawn and I can talk about. But you have the perspective of being the guy that people are coming to see. So what is that like?
Man, there's so much about drum clinics. It's a whole different world than what I do with August Burns Red. That's the first thing I'd say. If you're a clinician but not in a band touring, it would be easy to think that you know what it's like to be in a band touring, but it's so different. So going back, I went to see Thomas Lang give a drum clinic in New Orleans. I found out he was there. I was on tour. It was 2004 or 5, and I paid, I think, $10 because I had to borrow the money from JB, who plays guitar in my band. I walked in. There were a lot of people. I sat near the back, and I remember exactly how he came out. Hair was wet. Came out to his huge kit. It was kind of a stale convention like room, maybe 250 people. Sits down, and I remember him moving all 4 limbs, doing all this crazy stuff, throwing his head back, and his hair was flying around, and
People were getting wet in the splash zone.
It's like a Gallagher show, you know?
yeah, he had a sweat towel he was using, and I remember him talking here and there, but I just mostly remember him playing.
Okay.
I remember him playing. The other thing I remember is afterwards going up to him. There was a long line. I stood in it, and I got something signed. He was wearing a hat for that portion. I shook his hand, and that was it. Mm-hmm. So when I started to teach individual drum lessons, I realized that in my lessons, I have had lessons, but many of them were not very good. What I was trying to do was get affirmation from a teacher. And so when I teach, whether it's one-on-one or in a clinic setting, my goal is to get rid of that idea. You don't need me to affirm you. And I find a lot of times with students, all they're really looking for is you to say good job, or man, you did an awesome job, or wow, you really did good, or wow, you practiced hard. And looking back on how much money I spent on lessons trying to just get that, hey, you're doing a good job, it didn't serve me well. The reason I think I wanted it is because I was practicing so much and I didn't know if I was doing a good job. I didn't know if I was doing the right thing.
Sure.
So rather than tell them with my words, what I've found is when I'm teaching a clinic or one-on-one is playing. And just letting the student watch you, letting them play along, and just pick up what they can pick up from you. And when you're talking, you really should just mostly be listening, as a teacher, as an educator, to what your student wants to learn. Because for me, it was like, I didn't want to learn paradiddles. I wanted to learn blast beats and double bass. And I pretty much knew how to play them. I just wanted to make sure I was doing it right. But my teacher didn't listen and I had a stutter. So we put those two together, and I'm learning whatever
It's a lot of communication barrier. Yeah, for sure.
It's not going to
for
work.
sure.
So here's a paradiddle, and I'm sitting here going, I know how to play this, but I'm afraid to tell him. So then I'm just playing along with them, thinking, oh my gosh, this is $45, for an hour, and I could really be working at home right now on my own stuff.
Right.
So for me, teaching 101 is really about listening, and it's also about watching the student play and them seeing you play. And then in a clinic setting, I always play more than what I found. I feel like, how do I say this? If a promoter says, hey, you can maybe play 3-4 songs, you got an hour and a half, you can talk, do Q&A, I'll play 6 or 7. Because I found as an attendee, I feel like it's cheap when you go somewhere and they just play a couple songs and then they're doing all the talking. The talking is the easy part. The playing is where you got to show up and bring your A game and show what you're made of. And I think that says a lot when you see someone do that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that a lot of there are more folks that do clinics that have knowledge and might I don't know. I don't want to press on anyone's buttons or push anyone's buttons, but I might.
That's all right. Do it.
Okay, here we go. He gives me permission.
Do it.
He's not going to be here next
Hey
episode.
man, we gotta have people telling the truth about this world
absolutely.
because that's what I'm saying. It's different than the touring world,
right.
in that there's some junk.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that just because someone can do a clinic, doesn't mean that what they have is something that's of value that needs to be presented in that way. Meaning, there are a ton of people who can play certain books frontward and back. There are a ton of people who can be teachers, private lesson teachers that are great at that. But when the clinic comes up, people learn different ways, so I think it's important to have the visual thing and then also have the explanation. I think the talking is very important. It should never just be a performance because that's not what it is. If you want to see me on tour or on a show, you can do that, right? So it's interesting the balance of things. But a lot of people that promote or that approach a clinic will have an opposite viewpoint of you, being like, well, I can say these things and then I'll just demonstrate a few things. And I think that especially younger drummers, like you were impressionable.
The clinicians will come in with that.
Yes, the clinician will come in
and
with
I
that.
think that and I can't help but think that that's because it's easier to talk than to play.
Right.
I found some of the best clinicians out there, not to cut you off, but some of the best clinicians out there are the ones who are just playing a lot. Man, they're just like they're playing a lot, and maybe they don't even know how to explain what they can play. That's so funny to me that it's just like I don't even really know what I just played, but here it is. I'll play some more for you. Yeah. I think that's really refreshing, actually, versus someone who
my comparison, because you were talking about teaching private lessons and stuff too, is in my mind, if you really want to study with someone and learn the wisdom side of things, there's I'll take lessons with a guy for a year or whatever. Like that's where you're going to get a lot of the conversation. Be like, okay, instead of picking up the sticks today, can we just talk about this? Because this is something I'm encountering that I know you have experience with.
Yep.
That's a better setting for that rather than approaching a clinic as being a lesson, like a one-on-one lesson or a group lesson.
Right.
That's not what it is.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
I always found that
true.
the clinicians is your opportunity to see a world-class drummer up close in person.
Yes.
That you don't get to see.
Yes.
You could go take lessons from anybody. They could show you how to read the music and do it note for note. That's all well and good. That's fine. But now here's your opportunity. Here's a world-class drummer. Don Familiero's coming in. Here's your opportunity to see him. Buddy Rich never did drum clinics, but I'm just saying, someone like that to come in. Mm-hmm. Here's your opportunity. Mike Portnoy does drum clinics. Yep. That would be your chance. Here you go, because he's up here. He's on that next level. You know what I mean? You're on that next level.
He's one of the big boys.
So to see you up close drumming and that style that you bring and your ability, and it's just like, oh my God, here it is, and I'm going to be 10 feet away.
Exactly.
I'm not like, oh, you're way up there on stage. Like, what are you doing?
Yep.
Or you're listening to your records and you're like, man, now you get to see it in person.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't swing too far the other way though. It's very there's a line there, because I also would be super bummed if I went to a clinic and it was just a guy playing, and it's like, especially if they were in town doing a clinic, which a lot of times that happens when they're already in town playing a show. It's just like, okay, so this is just you playing without your band now.
Right.
Like that's a different that's a different thing. I'm not saying it should be a complete show. There's a balance of the two, but I agree with you saying that there should be a little bit more. If you had to rock the boat one way or the other, I agree that seeing and absorbing the playing and the approach up close and personal is really what a clinic is like.
I think one way to do this is if someone asks a question, they say, hey, how do you play double bass? Instead of just using your words to explain how to play double bass, you do, and you say, here's my technique, and then you do it. You do the thing on the spot. It's a call to action. And I think that's a tough thing for some teachers to do, so they just don't do it. And they'll just talk, and they'll talk, and they'll talk, and they'll talk, and they'll talk. Some of this too might be I'm speaking from a place personally where it's much easier for me to talk than it is to play.
Yeah.
Playing drums in ABR is not easy for me. Pick a song, really doesn't even matter what it is or how old it is, they're all hard. So if I'm going to take the path of least resistance, it's going to be just explaining it because I understand it all through and through. But then to be like, okay, it's like run that mile in 4.5 minutes or tell me what it's like to run the mile. One is a lot easier than the other one.
Good point.
So you're going to try to...
Very good point.
Yes, I'm offended. I've only gotten 2 bell hits, though.
Is that you're after the bell? You're after the affirmation that you're doing a good job.
That's
It all
right.
ties in. It all ties in. If only your drum teacher had a bell.
Man.
And you would have known that you were doing a good job.
We gotta get the blast bell version of that though,
Dude.
you know?
Dude, that you spent all that time in R&D. You just put that thing on top of your cymbal.
You could have been playing this the
You could
whole
have been
time.
playing that the entire time. It's been on the front of every
This wouldn't
hotel
have
desk
lasted.
for
This wouldn't
years,
have
man. That's the sound.
we could open up this market, Zildjian. We could sell to every hotel in the nation the blast bell version of whatever the hotel concierge bell is.
And people
very
get familiar with the
musical.
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like what happens if your bell did horrible.
Yeah.
They're like, we need to sell these somehow. Like, will hotels take them? Drummers don't want them.
That's true.
Drummers don't want them.
I take it back.
All right, so we're talking clinics. I do want to touch on this because this part of this segment is talking about the stuff people don't realize. One thing people don't realize with drum clinics, like they kind of don't realize with shows, is all of the organization that goes on the background.
Yeah.
It's crazy. In addition to us saying, hey, we want to have someone come do a clinic. I'm not going to use you as an example because you're awesome and you're willing to work with us and you're local, blah blah blah. Say we want someone else to come in and do a clinic. Say we want Thomas Lang.
Yep.
Okay, we want Thomas Lang to come do a clinic.
Thomas Lang's coming in.
We reach out usually through a company to get to him, unless we're super tight with him. I might DM him on Instagram, be like, "Hey, Thomas Lang, we're drums." That's a hard way to get through, but typically they're already set up with brands that they endorse. So you have to go through one of those to kind of get to the person, and then they want to be a part of it. Sometimes it's crazy how this swings. I don't know if you know a lot about this, but sometimes the company is willing to give you a couple bucks to pay the guy to come out because they want him to be there promoting their product and to be playing their gear, right? But that's I was going to
say that's usually how it works for me.
That works. Okay.
So I play DW, Zildjian, Vic Firth, Evans, Ultimate Ears.
Got it.
And if I'm doing a clinic, usually where we start is with the companies, and we'll say, what are you guys willing to send as far as a clinic pack, and how much money are you willing to contribute? And let's say your fee is $1,500. You might get a third of that just through companies.
Right.
Which you then invoice after the clinic is over, and now you're responsible for the other $1,000.
Of course. Yeah. And so that happens, but there are other situations where you have that conversation. Sometimes it's monetary to help kind of promote the event, but usually as a drum shop, we have experience in putting on shows and different things here. It's a huge expense for us.
Yes.
So the fact that you can see a drum clinic for $10, even $20, sometimes $30, like is
ridiculous.
Trying to recoup. Believe me, no one's rolling around in money in this. This is very much like, is the artist willing to do this for a certain amount of money to give back to the community? Is the drum shop willing to put themselves out there on behalf of the drummers? It's a lot of that giving to the community. That's what a clinic is
and
really
hopefully
about.
sell some product when people are in the store.
Yeah, of course.
That's like the X factor. Can you sell anything while they're here?
Yeah.
But I don't think you're moving a lot of product
when
they're
not.
here.
And usually you get the shop gets stuck with they have to buy the stuff that if the company doesn't give, they have to buy the stuff that the artist wants or that's on the rider.
And it's going to be high end. It's going to be collectors. It's going to be some weird symbols in there. It's going to be a specific throne. And
right, exactly. So, for example, for this clinic that we did at the drum show, I won't get into the details of the money thing because that's personal with Pat and everything, but he was super generous with us. But we brought him out, but we had to buy that kit. So I still have a new Sonic kit that I wouldn't have bought normally for the store sitting downstairs. And until that sells, I'm out amount of money.
Right.
You know,
What kind of kit is it?
So it's a new Sonic kit. It's
Ludwig.
cherry maple shells. It's really nice. It's like where their USA stuff starts now. Yeah.
What is it, like $8,000?
No, it is like $2,250.
Oh.
$2,250. Doesn't come with a snare, but it's a shell pack. Nice,
Yeah.
nice drums. But still, think about that. Keep in mind, margins in our industry are slim, so we paid most of that to have that kit,
Right.
so that Pat could have that stuff to play. I mean, he
Right.
brought his own cymbals. Usually, guys will do that kind of thing, depending on how they're traveling, right? But then you have, in addition to that, just from a shop perspective, in addition to that cost potentially being covered, usually not,
Yeah.
you have to get the person here. So that could be flights.
Yep.
That could be reimbursing for gas money, the travel expenses, depending on when the event is, where they're coming from. Now you got a hotel for a night or two.
Yep.
And then you have the expense of
Their fee.
to finish that out. And then someone to be there for them.
Yep.
If they get in early in the morning, they need to be picked up, taken to the hotel, this and
Yep.
that. You're paying an employee, you're doing it yourself, that kind of thing. So when it's all said and done, if you see someone is coming to a drum shop and you'd like to see them, go and support it.
Absolutely.
Because
For
there's
sure.
so much energy that goes into it. Not just saying that we went through the money thing, but the energy and the time that it goes into to
Yep.
coordinate something like
Yep.
that is intense. And it's like, oh, why don't you have this guy come in or that guy come in? Or like, oh, you only did one drum clinic this year? It's like, guys, it's pretty crazy and it's
Yeah.
only getting more expensive.
Yeah.
So this is what
No,
I
that's
love
exactly
this segment
right.
to talk about this, because no one knows what goes on. They just see, oh, it's $10 to go see Suckerman at this
Yeah.
place. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do it. That's a way to support your drum shop.
Yeah.
Get them some reimbursement so they can do more events like that.
Yeah. And the clinicians know there's money to be made here. So we know that there's companies that are backing us, and we know that people are willing to pay for our service, if you will.
Yep.
But what I try to remember, it's so funny, is we talked about my farming earlier on. I grew up on a farm, and one of the things we do is wheat. We grow wheat, which the stalk of wheat, what supports the grain, which is at the top, is baled and is called straw. And straw is used for bedding. So if you can picture fall, you have these little mini straw bales now that are sold. And then you have bigger bales, which are 40 pounds or so. They're about this big. And then you have huge round bales and square bales in the fields. So we deal with the 40-pound bales. Now, what does any of this matter? There's a lot of time spent to get to the point where you are baling a straw bale. Once you get to that point, you're throwing it and you're stacking it, and it's hot because it's July. You sell a straw bale for between $4 and $6. So how many straw bales does it take to equal what I get paid to do a clinic? The problem with being in the music industry, in any industry for a long time, when you become successful, is you forget how hard it is to make money. And when you forget that, you start to think to yourself, oh yeah, $1,500, I'm going to need that. And it's like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
For what you're doing, that's a lot of money. People are paying for your 20 years of practicing. I understand that. It's baked in. You've done the work. You've put in the time. People want to see it. Plus, there's going to be a draw, and sponsors want to back you up. But this relationship has to be understood on both sides, because on the clinician side, I have seen some people who know how much they can get away with, because it's very personal between the artist and the promoter or the drum shop owner.
Yeah.
And it's a weird relationship. It doesn't really exist in the guitar world as much. The drumming world's very friendly and unique in that sense. We're happy to share insider secrets and practice tips and get together and talk shop. I mean, that's what we're doing
this
here.
whole thing is, yeah.
Which is really cool. It's really cool. But yeah, teaching a lot of clinics, I always appreciate the fact that drum shops are willing to do as much work and put as much on the line, because, man, it's a lot. It's a lot of work, and it's a risk, but it's really cool when it works well for both parties.
It is very cool when it works well, and the feedback you get, just even doing the PA drum show and the clinic involved with that, you're constantly getting that feedback and that affirmation a little bit too, that that pat on the back, like good job, and you put in all that time and effort and to make it happen, and it's good when everyone appreciates it and everyone realizes what a great event it was and everything they got out of it. I mean, you're still talking about the Thomas Lang Clinic, and what you got out of that. Like you went out of your way to experience a next level drummer perform right in front of your eyes.
That's true, and that says a lot about Drums Etc. then, because maybe you were at that event and now you come to the shop and you associate everything cool that happened there with your shop. So it helps elevate your brand.
Yeah. We're doing a lot in brand right now. That's this whole thing. I mean, just trying to, and it's really less about to flip over into the sales world. It's more about letting people know we're here.
Right.
There's so much effort that we have to put out there, and gladly, but there's so much effort to just make sure we get that. Hey, remember us, guys?
Yep, exactly.
Out there. You know what I mean?
You got to get that billboard.
That's it. It's all
We're trying.
We're
trying.
You got to hang it over
We're going old
501.
school.
Yeah.
Forget about what the township says. Just suspend a line over the road and let it rip, man.
We'll put it up on the side of some hay bales, man. We'll collaborate here.
I'll sell them to you.
Hey,
$4 a bale.
we'll put it in your barn.
That's not gonna work.
It's not gonna work.
We could take down some of the Mike Portnoy posters.
Yeah.
Matt, you need a poster of me.
Oh, Shawn.
Come on, man.
I do.
How many Portnoys equal one Shawn
That's
Crawford?
right.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
There's
I don't have enough.
There's not enough.
All right, we're gonna get nerdy about gear and Hall of Fame. Only 10 seconds. Have you ever had to do that? Have you ever had to record only 10 seconds, but you want to get it into the groove where it's jam, and it has to have a resolution point at the end? It was a really fun project to do these.
Tough.
Yeah,
10
it was
seconds.
really fun.
That's how long that was.
Yeah, that's it.
Man, that was 10 seconds. That felt like 2.
And you were rocking.
2 seconds or 2 minutes?
And you were rocking, and you felt it. Oh,
It felt like 2 minutes to me.
So naturally, we're all drum gear nerds. We need to put you guys are like the Muppets, man. You need to have you're like the old guys, like just poking
He's
fun
like-
at everything.
That wasn't half bad.
He's the grump over here.
It was all bad.
Was that 2 seconds or 2 minutes? My gosh.
Falling asleep over here.
And you kind of look like a
He's got
Muppet
his
too.
leg propped
It's
up.
perfect.
I mean,
What are you doing?
This is the transition.
You got a foot rest now.
That's important.
This is very important.
You're
This-
already lounging.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Got my New Balance
drum
sneakers. We're good to
gear
go, brother.
nerds, and this is the season of this item, and it's a big item for us. It's a small company. It seems like a big company because you see them everywhere. It's a small company that makes these. It's a small shop supporting a small company. Pretty soon we'll be huge in this awesome partnership, but we have to induct our 12th inductee into the Drum Key Hall of Fame. Is the Rock and Sock drum throne.
Oh, that's why you were doing this.
That's why he has a footrest.
Okay.
It's a Rock and Sock drum throne. Rock and Sock thrones makes a variety of different things. When they burst onto the scene, they had those ones with like 5 legs.
I
They had
remember
some
that.
with springs that would make you feel like you're falling out of your chair. Somehow that worked for a while. But this is like the hot rod of the Rock and Sock thrones. We typically stock the round top throne and the original style, which is like a motorcycle style seat. And we love the nitro base because it's hydraulic, just like a desk chair. You can raise and lower it to the proper height. It's got a little bit of cush, a little bit of bounce, take a little pressure off that tailbone, and it collapses up in your hardware bag, which is super nice. So we had to induct it. We had to make it for our first season.
Yes.
Calling it a season now. First year of Drum Key.
Season's good.
We had to have
Stick with that.
Rock and Sock as part of it because it's really easy and great from our perspective to work with the folks over at Rock and Sock.
Is it?
And like I said,
It
it's
really
super
is, yeah.
great. Good people.
Yeah, the great thing is when you call them, they answer the phone. It's one of those deals like, hello, Rock and Sock. Like when you call us, hello, Drums, etc. It doesn't go to a voice to mail. It doesn't go to this or that. Like they answer immediately. The people that work there have worked there for years. I've known Corey and the other people that have worked there for all of these years. I can email her. She'll email me back immediately. We're constantly placing orders for Rock and Sock drum thrones, and we never seem to have enough. Right now we have a lot, but in a few weeks, I'm sure we'll be down to our last 3.
Yeah.
It's crazy. These are our best-selling drum thrones. They're most comfortable in my opinion. I've had a Rock and Sock for years. I don't know what you play. We Adam and I were talking about that.
Probably
We're
some DW throne.
probably
or something
DW
that you
throne.
got.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9,000. What's the What's the crater for?
That's to pressure off your tailbone. It's the comfort thing.
Yeah,
Plus,
for DW 9000, it's
yeah, It's a little less. It gets a little less swampy. Do I want to use
Yeah.
swampy?
I'd say swampy's the right word.
Yeah,
That's kinda where I
swampy
was-
and less pressure on your tailbone.
That's the idea. Yeah.
And also the
He's gonna keep saying tailbone. That's what he does.
tailbone.
And you guys keep saying swampy.
Swampy and tailbone. He just rings the bell. That's
Why
like
not?
washing away what we just said.
Yeah.
So rock and sock drum thrones.
Yeah.
No, there's not much to say about a seat. I do want to take this time to point out the fact.
Seats are actually pretty important, I think.
They very
Super
are.
important. This is the number one thing I recommend when people get their first kit as far as the number one upgrade. It's not going to be a new cymbal. People, when you start drumming, you just need to get drums in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a little bit
Get
before you
things to
settle
hit.
in and you're like, eventually you're going to tell, I always tell this to parents who are buying a drum set for a kid, they're going to tell you what they want to upgrade.
Yeah.
Because they're going to hear these hi-hats don't sound like I hear, or the ride, or the drum heads need replaced. They don't sound quite right. And that's where you go, or this pedal doesn't feel right? But without a doubt, you need to have a nice drum throne.
And it's
super
usually
important.
it's overlooked a lot too. And I know coming up, you were probably the same way, and a lot of
Oh.
people are. Like, okay, you can settle on just sitting on a cheap drum throne, and if you had a little extra scratch, a little extra money, you're gonna want a new cymbal, you're gonna want a new snare, you're gonna want a new toy, maybe put new heads on. You constantly forget about the drum throne,
Yep.
and you spend hours on your seat,
Yep.
so it needs to be comfortable.
Yep.
If you're playing in a church setting, you spend so much time sitting down, and it needs to be comfortable. And I think Rock and Socks are absolutely the most comfortable. So my money's with Rock and Sock.
So when I first started playing drums, I didn't have a throne, and my dad built a side table for my mom as a gift on Christmas, and it was sitting there in the basement, pretty close by. And so, what do? You just oh, this looks like it's about the right height.
I'll sit on that.
Exactly.
So I grabbed it and I pulled it over.
Uh-huh.
Think of a piano bench, but about half as wide,
Sure.
and maybe not quite as deep.
You're sitting on a wooden table.
Had wooden legs that were the actual branches. They still look like branches. Can you picture that cool look? Yeah,
Wow.
it was that. Perfectly balanced though. He's a pretty good carpenter, and I practiced on that and I played shows on that.
Unbelievable.
I packed
No
it
way.
in my car with my drum set until one day I think I realized, well, wait a second, this isn't even what you use with a drum set. There's actually specific seats that are sold. Because for me, to your point, you see a drum set, you see cymbals, sticks, heads. Okay, this is what it is. But it's like, this is actually the most important part of as far as your contribution, because it's what you're sitting on. But think about it this way. So I used to think the gear is what made you a drummer. The cymbals made you sound good. The drums made you sound tight or made you sound like a professional. But you are the one hitting everything. You are the
Bingo.
most important piece of playing drums. And it hasn't been that long that I've realized that, and I wish I realized it a long time ago, because think about it. If you go to a drum shop and sit down at the kit, it really doesn't matter if it's the same one you used to play.
Right.
You are the biggest factor. So
Yes.
just sit down and play it.
Yeah.
The reason that it was so tough for me to figure that out, or I wish I figured it out a long time ago, is because I have to play backline kits sometimes. And when you play a backline kit, you're looking at that thing like, I can't play that. I can't play that thing. I'm scared to death.
But you do.
And then you sit down and you figure
Yep.
it out because you're the
Absolutely.
biggest factor.
I know. It's
It's so funny, man.
Yep.
It's so
Yeah,
funny.
It's all on you. And what I tell people, part of my like pitch, I say pitch. I'm a horrible salesman. I just tell people what I
you
know.
just say it out front.
I just say it out
Say the
front.
quiet part out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is good.
This is what happens. I say the number one determining factor, besides your own personal drive to be interested in the drums, especially if someone's buying it for a kid. Let's just go with that example. The number one factor that's going to make them want to sit down and practice for longer, besides their need to do it or their passion for it, is going to be how long they can sit there before their butt hurts or their back hurts.
That's
and if they're
true.
sitting on a lawn chair or they're sitting on like some piano bench stool or end table, that threshold is going to get hit sooner, which means they're playing less, which means they're progressing less, which means they're not reinvesting the time into it.
Yeah.
So it is really important. That's why I always recommend that as the first upgrade.
My newest
That's a good point.
sales pitch now is when someone comes in looking for a drum throne, they say, we're looking to upgrade a drum throne, or we're looking for a new drum throne. And I just immediately go to the Rockin' Socks and I say, this is what you want. And I point to the rest that are all sitting over there. I said, we could just actually take all of those and throw them in the trash. We don't need those because this is all you need.
Yeah.
This is all you need. This is the best drum throne to get. And everything else is just going in the garbage.
You know what I say? My grandpa used to say it. Buy the best and cry once.
That's right.
That's good.
And I learned this one from Rick. Rick always says
great.
this. Rick says, no one ever said, darn, I wish I wouldn't have got the good one.
It's true.
So this is the good one. This is what you want. We sell all of the parts and pieces to this too. Anything breaks on this, we can replace it. The cylinder, the mount on the bottom, the NR mount, the feet, every little part of this drum throne is fixable, repairable, and replaceable.
They're all pre-drilled.
I know.
They're all pre-drilled for backrests. So if you decide to put a backrest on it, you literally just tighten up 2 bolts and you have a backrest now. Or if you take it off. I play a Rockin' Sock at my throne, or at my throne. I play a Rockin' Sock at my throne.
You sure do.
I'm losing it with you guys. I play a Rockin' Sock behind my kit. Thank you.
I don't think you ever had it to begin with.
And I had a second one that I had a backrest for when I would record, and it was my desk chair.
That's right.
For a long time, I had a Rockin' Sock as my desk chair because they're that comfortable.
That's kind of cool. I feel like I need to try it.
Yeah, try it.
This is it. This is really what people listen to podcasts for, is to listen. It's okay. It's okay. It's to listen to a drummer sit on a seat in the room that we're doing the podcast. This is.
Yep, I'm
this
ready.
This is it. This
See
is
it
the
happen.
beginning of a new partnership. This is.
Yeah.
Wow. Feel
Ah.
that little give, nice and cushy.
You can adjust on the fly. I don't know if you use a hydraulic lift.
Isn't that
but
nice?
It's great being able to adjust on the fly like that.
I like that little bit of bounce. It's a little forgiving.
Yep.
It is nice to have.
This is it. You're welcome, Rockin' Sock. You're about to have a new indoor C
Yeah.
here shortly.
I like to sit on the front a little bit, but I thought that would bother me having that little
Yeah,
crater.
yeah.
Because when I look at it, I think, oh, that means you have to sit over the center of the throne.
Nope.
And I like to sit a little forward, but that's actually kind of where
That's a comfy spot. Up a little
kinda where
forward.
you want to be. Right
Yep.
there.
How
Yeah.
long are your sets usually?
I'm coming back.
Okay. How'd you like that? Pretty nice?
I give that an 8
There you go.
Wow.
out of 9.
Honest review right there.
An 8 out of 9.
It's always a scale for 9. Of course.
What was the question?
How long is your set?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
long are you
Set,
sitting
yeah.
on your throne
Yeah.
at a
Headline show.
Mhm.
Longest one ever was an hour and 20. Let's just say an hour 30.
Yeah, that's a freaking long freaking time.
This last.
Your ass is sore.
Yeah, and a little swampy.
Yeah.
And a little.
You need something
A
comfortable.
little swampy. All right, I'm moving on. While they get their act together, we're going to jump into quick question.
Quick question.
And we're back. Oh boy, our breaks here are just something to witness, man. Our studio audience
John.
is losing it right now. Thank you all for being here and joining us for this live taping. So Matt,
Yeah.
we have another section called Quick Question. We joke about this because if you walk into a drum shop and you start off by saying, "Hey, quick question," it is not going to be a quick answer.
It's a great one.
never like a yes or no.
Yeah.
It's always like, "All right, here we go."
Yep.
Sean, as
Yep.
Shawn says, we got to qualify the customer, figure
Yep.
out where they're coming from, talk about this. So that's what this segment's about because we have a little bit more time here. So here is the quick question for this episode. Hey guys, quick question. Why are there so many drumstick options and what's the difference?
Well, you see, you know how
This is
you-
life in our shoes. This is what we get
Sure
every
is,
day.
yeah.
So welcome. This is the hardest job. You think it's
Yeah.
hard playing for ABR?
Yeah.
We got to answer questions like this all day
with
long.
a smile on your face. I don't know, man. Just
See, this is how I would approach that situation. If
I tried.
you have to qualify them. So it's like it's usually a mom saying that.
Who says that?
Or
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, no, you do because this is what you do.
Qualify.
You have to qualify.
I love
'em.
that.
If someone says, "Why are there so many drumsticks?"
Yeah.
and like, is this a drummer talking to me? Do they not know? Is this someone that's not a drummer and they're talking about their son, daughter, or their husband or whatever? So it's like, say it's someone that's not used to drumming or being around drums. You say, well, drummers are very opinionated, and it's personal preference. Depending on if you're playing jazz, you want something smaller. If you're really bashing, you want something a little heavier. If you're doing a little bit of both, you want something right in the middle, something versatile. So that's why. And there's different lengths and tips for different styles and things like that. And drummers just like variety. So that would be my quick answer.
That's good. You know what my new line is?
I've said it before.
I tell people, I say,
I'm well rehearsed.
Here's what I say. Especially if it's someone who I know is not really, like, they just want a quick answer. If they want a quick answer for their quick question, I give them this. I say, they're all almost the same thing.
Similar
they're all
enough.
almost the same thing.
Yep.
And the difference is preference.
Yeah.
That's the quickest I can go through it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they're like, so a 5A and a 2B is, but then this 5A has a different tip. And you're like, literally, okay, here's the rundown, people. I'm going to give it to you once and for all. Here's the order of sizes for absolutely no reason. 7A, 5A, 5B, 2B, 3A. That's smallest to biggest. Every company uses those and has those models. Every company is different diameter, different length, different tip, different shank. Everything about it is different. But those will be in the same order. If you play one of those and you want a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, look for the exact same thing you have with the corresponding number. But besides that, it's all made up. Mm-hmm. There are different things. There are different letters, there's no rhyme or reason really behind it.
Yep.
What I want to talk about, because we have an experienced drummer
Yep.
who's gone through the experience of designing your own stick.
Yep.
Where did you start?
Yep.
And why did you feel the need to make a change? And what was that process like?
That's a great question. So I got approached by Vic Firth. This is going back 10 years, maybe a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we want to do a SIG stick with you.
Okay.
We think there's a demand for it. I said, okay, that's really awesome. What's the first thing we do? They said, well, we need you to figure out what you want. So we're going to send you tons of signature sticks and different styles. And you're going to play and play and play and figure out what you like. Well, I knew I already liked the Vader 3A Fatback. It was my favorite stick because there's more weight on the front end and you get more bounce back. It felt right when I used it.
That's a very popular stick.
It's still my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
It's still one of my not my favorite. Well, it probably is still my favorite. I mean, not the Vader specifically, but 3A.
Right. Yeah.
That style and diameter. So anyway, I got all these sticks from Aaron Spears to Weckl to you name it. The whole way down through the list. Matt Cameron, the whole thing. And I played them all, figured out generally what I like and what I would want to make my own. And at that point, really, you're just saying, I like this, but I think we could try this. So I have shorter arms. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to make the stick a little longer. And I'm going to put a little bit more weight on the front end like the 3A has. Mm-hmm. I like the Matt Cameron stick a lot, diameter-wise. And then let's do a teardrop tip because I like the way that plays on my ride. I have a really pingy ride. And then from there, it's like, well, you guys put lacquer on your sticks. What if we do one that's just dry?
Yeah.
So that when you sweat, the stick sticks to your hands more. Yeah. So I was the first lacquer-free stick that Vic Firth did. And then you do the artwork for it. You sign your name 100 times. And I did this little whale logo that I put on it. And then you get this phone call. After a couple iterations of it, it's finally ready to go. They say, listen, man, this might not work. We are going to put this out, and we might be calling you saying, it didn't work. Gotcha. Not enough people bought it. We're dropping you. I hate to say that right now, but I just want you to be prepared. So you know that going in, and you know that there's a lot of SIG sticks that don't make it.
Yeah, and that's great communication on the company's part.
Yes.
Especially because at that point, you're kind of riding high, and you're like, they're doing this for me. That means it's a big deal, but like, it could disappear. Yeah. So you started out, like I mentioned those sizes. That's really the basis for all sticks. Yeah. And then variations. Those are 3As over there, Shawn, if you want to grab those.
Yeah.
So that's where it started. But before you get your own like signature stick where it's something different, This is an in-between stick. We have one
Yeah.
of these.
So I
are
have to
so
explain
prepared.
our a little bit of a
We're
story
good.
behind this here because Evan Shoebrooks, who worked here and also played with you guys, and he was a big ABR fan and a big fan of yours, and he had communication with you, and he said, Matt has his own signature drumsticks. Maybe we could get him in and start maybe do a signing, and we had you come in, and we had these available. And I noticed immediately, I'm like, wow, okay, cool. Here's the ABR stick, Matt Greiner drumstick. And I looked at it and I go, this looks like a Vic Firth 3A. And then I noticed that it was identical to it. So this was like the first?
Is that like the in-between?
That's a really good observation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happened was we started off with the lettering. See, this says Augustman is red on it. So we started off with the lettering on a 3A, and I sold these, and I believe played them on tour. As a merch item.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I think
As a
that's where
merch
he
item.
actually discovered it.
And then from there, we said, well, let's extend it, make it longer. The diameter is a little bit thick, so let's lighten it up a little bit. But that is 100% an observation that I would not have made.
Only
I forgot
us,
about
dude. Look
that.
at that.
Yeah.
That's the same
I
stick
noticed
right
immediately.
There,
I
man.
was
That's
like, wow,
so
it's the same
Shawn.
exact stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't that long after that your proper signature model came out.
Yeah.
Maybe a
Yes.
year later.
And we had them at the
boom,
store.
and we stock it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
been on back order for quite a while.
Yes,
but
it has.
Everything has been on
I
back
just
order
talked
for a
to
long
Vic
time.
about this yesterday.
You giving them crap saying the guys at Drums Etc. need
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
need 'em.
Exactly.
We have
We're
people
going to
that need
be,
'em.
there are 6 sticks being dropped. Mine is not one of them,
Gotcha.
which is good news.
Yeah, they're slowly.
So we're gonna be
there's
bringing 'em
been.
back.
I think there's been 4 releases since they suspended a lot of models in production because they were switching facilities.
Yeah.
So but we're seeing more and more every
We're
time.
starting
And I'm
to-
like, any grinders? No.
Yeah, I know.
Any grinders?
I know. We're getting there.
We're getting there. But I do want to mention as well, I've seen that before. I have a couple of sticks. I've been to shows, and other people know I'm a drummer too. So if I ever catch a stick or someone else catches a stick. By the way, being the tall guy in the front of the show has one benefit.
Yeah.
You put up with people complaining about you, standing behind you. You feel like you have to crouch the entire time. But if there's a stick toss, I'm getting
You're
the
getting
stick.
it.
I'm like, you have no chance. And then you think you might have a chance, and then I jump, which adds a whole 3 inches. I'm just a tall, skinny white dude. I got the stick, right? So
This guy.
I've accumulated a few.
Listen to him.
Right? I've
Yeah.
accumulated a few sticks,
Yeah.
and I've seen that before. I have another one. I know my brother went to see a band years ago. He went to see him at the Chameleon of Montreal. Weird,
Oh, yeah.
of
I know
Montreal. Yeah,
Montreal.
kind of like a avant-garde type, cool jam,
Yeah.
weird band. I don't know too much about him, but he went to that. But anyway, their drummer plays Pro Mark 5Bs,
Right.
but has the signature on there. So these stick companies will do that for
Yes,
people.
they will.
They'll
They'll charge you for it. They'll make money, and
of
then you
course.
make money.
And then you make money, exactly. So there is that kind of in-between step that you can have. But what you did was the real deal, where
Yeah.
you said, hey, shave this off here, do this a little bit.
Yep.
And
It's
you're
an actual
yeah.
stick. I remember, this is a funny story. I remember having a conversation with Aaron Spears. I just thought about this. And he had a sig stick. And mine was going to be released. And then, so I called him. I said, hey, what can I expect from my royalty checks for these?
Right.
Because you get paid a little cut. And he goes, man, he goes, it's enough. It's enough to take your girl out on a nice date. It's enough to take your girl out. It's enough to take your girl out to dinner. I think it's exactly what he said. It's enough to take your girl out to dinner. I was like, all right. So I'm thinking $60, $80, maybe $100.
Yeah.
Well, I get my check, and it's pushing $2,000.
Whoa.
Dude. you were like, wait a minute.
You and Aaron Spears dine at 2 completely different places, or have a totally different idea of what a good date or dinner
I'll
is.
tell you this. Aaron Spears must not be from Lancaster County, because
He's
taking
taking
a girl
the
out to a
limo.
nice dinner is a different thing.
So I called Spears up, and
That's great.
and I said, hey man, where do you take your girl out to eat, man? That's incredible. And he goes, "Oh, that was your first." I think he told me this.
Okay.
If not, someone else
Yeah.
did. That's your first one.
Right.
They just shipped them all. So your first one's going to be huge, and
Sure.
sure enough, the next one was
And
like
it tapers down to like
150
Yeah.
bucks
until it's just
Okay.
regularly like,
I
oh yeah,
get it.
drums,
Yeah.
etc. got another brick. You
Yeah.
know, it's like
I
that
get
kind
it.
of thing.
Exactly.
The restocking order versus the grand release.
The grand release is
Everyone's
big.
buying it. Everyone has it then, and
Yep.
then then you get to
It
see like,
starts
okay,
to
how is
settle
it?
in.
How is it performing and all that kinds of stuff.
Exactly. Your first one's going to be big. How's it going to be after 2 years?
So, right. Yep. Well, we've done extremely well with that stick. Your
Yeah,
stick.
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
We
gotta get
should.
more in.
We should around
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we ought to
sure.
get more in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
know,
can't wait.
Dude, I've had them on back order. They won't even. At the moment, I can't back order them.
Yeah,
because
they
they
won't
don't
allow.
have the date. Once they have a date, then I can back order.
Then you
a
can
ton
back order.
and get them. And
Get
They
'em in.
should allow you to have open orders. I don't understand why they don't do
wow,
that.
they got a
'Cause
lot
then
going
they
on.
would be like,
But
set.
I loved
New
the look
Year.
on Shawn's face when you came in to teach a lesson the other day and you handed the kid a pair of your sticks.
Yeah.
And Shawn was like, "Oh, I could sell those. We've been waiting for
People
those."
are calling me. People are texting me. Like, are the Matt Greiners in yet? And actually, he was one of the guys that plays those, Austin. And he was,
that's
every week
cool.
he
I
comes
actually
in.
got
He's
him
always
one.
So you
asking-
got him a pair of
He
sticks.
does. He does
That'll-
play those. But you
that'll
signed
last
him, so hopefully he keeps those.
No,
at a nice-
no,
saves-
I disagree
would.
with that.
Yeah,
I disagree with
Hopefully he
that.
sells them to the shop.
I love when Suckerman came to sign sticks.
Yeah.
Every person after he signed sticks, he said, "Actually play these,"
Oh,
Yeah.
because he wanted people trying a stick. Get more people playing your
Yeah.
stick, they'll buy more, whatever. He's like, he
Yeah.
was like, "Don't set these on a shelf."
Yeah.
Like he's like, the thought of that is just sad to me.
Yeah.
Play
yeah.
them.
Play them. Yeah.
Play
That's
'em a little
cool.
bit. Unless you're like crazy like Shawn and play butt end out, you're not gonna
That's right.
scratch off the signature or anything.
I do.
But he's crazy. Anyway, awesome. Let's
Crazy
dive
man.
into our last segment here where we dive into Matt's story a little bit more, called Between the Ply. So we don't have a ton of time because we talk
he's a married man,
too
for
much
God's
about
sakes.
this. But I do want to actually, I want to touch on a couple things, and that's actually the first thing I want to talk about.
Yep.
Being a drummer, being a professional musician, being an adult, you need a support system.
Yep.
Right, and it's super, super important. And the drumming world, being an artist, even working at the shop, like it's the music industry. Every facet of it is unique and weird. It's not you clock in 9 to 5 ever. When you're working is never an early morning shift, and then you have this. It's always weird.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, it's a weird thing. And having a support system behind you is super important. So I wanted to give you the opportunity, and I wanted to talk to you. Now you're married, Annie Greiner,
Good job.
and Eleanor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your new
He
daughter.
remembers,
I
dude.
met her.
Yeah.
I met her the other day. How
I know,
could I
but
not?
still, that's really.
And dude,
Really
I wanted to talk about this because I don't hear anyone talking about this, especially when they're talking to famous drummers. They're like, "Hey, talk to me about what you think of Ringo or whatever." And I'm just like, we hear that.
Yeah.
No, I want to talk about real life. How do you wake up in the morning? You need to have a certain amount of energy.
Yeah.
You have an awkward schedule.
Yeah.
And how has that been now that you're married and having that relationship
Yeah.
simultaneously?
That's a great question. I've never answered a question like this before.
Oh.
So.
And we're out of time.
Good night, everybody.
So my. Well, for starters, it's awesome. Awesome
Nice.
being a dad. It is the coolest. It's the most fulfilling thing that's ever happened to me. I was just talking to Blake from Between the Buried and Me, who's one of my favorite drummers in the world, and he had a little girl a couple years ago. We were just talking at Christmas Prince Red about how we've been doing this a long time, playing drums, touring, playing big shows, small shows, everything in between. And you can put it all aside. When you become a dad, it is the most fulfilling thing. It is the coolest thing ever. And I feel so fortunate and blessed to be with the person that I'm with in Annie. She is an amazing wife. She's an awesome mom. She loves being a mom. First thing in the morning, we walk over to Eleanor's bassinet, and she's waking up, and she looks up, and we look down, and we say, "Good morning, Eleanor. Good morning." And she's got this like smile that she can't contain. It literally shoots through her body, and she's just like flipping her feet up and throwing her arms. And
Yep.
you pick her up and you walk her over to the next room, and it's just like, all right, today can go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And my life is pretty good.
Nice.
I explain it this way: if your house is in order, you can go out into the world and have a horrible day, and you'll be okay because you know you're going home.
Yeah.
If your house is a mess, you go out in the world, get a job promotion, do pretty well, and it still doesn't work the way that you feel like it should.
Yeah.
It's a letdown, right?
Yep.
And so I'm in a season of life right now where I've built my band, and for a little while there I was going through some challenges at home, and now my home is in order, and I feel like my priorities are finally where they should be and where they're sustainable as a dad and as a husband. So drumming's down here, my family's here, and my faith is here. And when those three things are in order, it's like if I really suck at a show, it's not going to devastate me.
Yeah.
Whereas before, drumming was pretty near the top, and I would sit in the back of the van and just kind of cross my arms and hang my head and be like, I don't know how I'm going to face the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
Right.
And I recently heard someone referring to being in a good place and talking about health, and everyone separates spiritual health, mental health, physical health, like your work-life balance, like all of this. Like, let's stop viewing all of this as completely separate things.
Yeah.
Everything affects everything.
Absolutely.
So the more that you can, lock down and kind of have as a consistent foundation, the better.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, if there's one thing that you get out of this as a viewer or a listener, it's you play drums, but your identity is not based in your performance as a drummer. That's so silly. Think about that. What? So who you are, your value is based on you playing a sequence of notes perfectly, which, by the way, you can't do anyway because you're not perfect. You're human, and you're subject to failure and not doing things perfectly. So admit that, be okay with that, and then recognize that when you do really well, don't get cocky because it's not your identity. And when you do really poorly, don't let it destroy you. It's okay. It really doesn't matter. It really does not matter. What people say about you doesn't really matter. How you perform, even up to your level, doesn't really matter. And so when you realize that, then you have this sense of freedom and you can just play. And guess what? You play better. Josh Allen, quarterback for the Bills, listens to like 5 jazz songs before he plays. Why does he do that? Because it relaxes him. It just brings him down. It brings his heart rate down. That's the way I feel, knowing that drumming isn't the most important, has to work, is the end all. People have to see me as the best. Once you let go of that, man,
you probably play better as a result of it because you're not putting that way up here. You have your priorities where they need to be, and you're probably playing at a higher level because of that.
Absolutely. That's 100% true. And even when I don't, it's like, it's not, I can kind of laugh at it.
It's not the end of the world.
You just kind of you kind of laugh at yourself, you know? You suck, man.
But I'm going home to a beautiful wife and a beautiful child and a happy home and everything else.
Exactly.
So there's another day for drumming.
That's it, man.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, we nerd about all this drumming stuff, and we end the podcast by saying none of it really matters. And it's true. It's true. It's true.
Very
Matt, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming out, dude.
Great, man.
We can definitely have you back anytime. This is our we've got segments and we go through stuff, but we also have another pop-in version of the show where we just gab. So we got to do that sometime as well.
Thank you for having me. I love drums, etc. I'm really glad that it's a part of our community, and I hope to be teaching here at some point in the future.
Yeah,
so
we're talking.
Thanks for having me.
Things are happening. Things are coming. Yeah. So thank you guys for checking out this episode of Drum Key. These guys, I can't deal with them. Thank you for joining us. If you want to contribute to the show, if you have any ideas for this show or next season 2, we're coming back, baby. Coming back in 2024 for our second season of Drum Key. We're going to tweak things up a little bit, make it better. Always, we are a local drum shop. Support your local drum shops, please. If you don't have a local drum shop, we'll adopt you. You'll be part of our family, part of our crew. Thank you guys so much for following us and being here for this experiment, which turned into the most fun thing ever. Have a good one.